best thing you can do is assume that nobody is ever going to change. Welcome to the video. My name's Steven. In this video, we're going to be talking about why you're stuck and what you need to do to get out of that. And 9 times out of 10, the reason why you're stuck in the position you are, why you can't start that business, you can't go to school, you can't live the life you want to live, you're not happy, whatever it is, it's because you're bad at making decisions. Now, the other day I was having a discussion with one of my clients about when you get a lead or a client who's just not very good. And if you're in the home improvement space, you know how it is. Someone who constantly nags at you, stands there and watches you do the entire job and just always has some complaint and something to say. And my client just said, you have to assume that some people are never going to change. And that's the truth. And the reason why most people don't change is because their environment, the people in their environment, and the beliefs that they have keep them stuck. And so the reason I want to talk about this is because I want to help you not only realize that you have to assume nobody's going to change, and so you can't make anybody change, but also number 2, that you understand if you stay in the same environment with the same beliefs and the same people, you're going to be the same person for the rest of your life. First, let's talk about your environment. Your environment, usually, if you're not used to making changes and making hard decisions, will have easy things to get you distracted. And so I've been a victim of this myself. I've had an environment where there's video games, there's porn, there's drugs, there's alcohol, and my room's messy. And the thing is, it's hard to change your environment when there's so many components and so many variables in that environment. My biggest thing that's helped me out has been to make my environment as minimalistic as possible because I cannot get distracted. If you go look at my office, it's just my desk, it's just my laptop, and it's just a whiteboard and a bookshelf. There's nothing else inside of my environment. There is no distractions. There's no video games. There is no mini fridge with beers inside of it. There is nothing in there. And the reason why is because it's easier to not get distracted. Put your phone in a different room. Your environment is a construct of who you are. Your environment is based off of your beliefs. And so if you believe certain things and you act a certain way, your environment is going to resemble that. And this is why I say that if you look at somebody and they always have a messy room, it's just proof that their mind is full of clutter. Okay, when you can eliminate that stuff, you can make peace in your mind and make decisions easier. The next thing is your friendship circle. Now, when I was in college, I decided I wanted to drop out and go into starting a marketing agency. This was about 3.5 years ago. And the entire time, every single one of my friends and family told me that I was being stupid, that I needed to stay in school, that I needed to go get a 9-to-5 job, that I could go to school for marketing and then get out with more knowledge and I'd be able to understand it better. And I probably had countless phone calls with my friends, with my family, sitting in their cars, late nights in their kitchen, just listening to people tell me that I was wrong for trying to go out on my own. And the reason why people do this is because they want to keep you at their level. Because when someone sees you doing better than them, they don't want that. And it's not necessarily malicious. It's just that they can either A, envy you, or B, they want to keep you in their environment. So they're going to do what it takes to keep you to stay. And so this is what that looks like. It looks like your friend that says, come on, bro, you love to drink. Let's go out and drink, after you specifically said you're not going to do that anymore. And they ridicule you for not going out. Oh, you're such a something. You're such a nerd, or you're stupid. You like to just sit inside and work on your business. Good luck on your business. I had plenty of guys do that to me when I first started. I mean, I remember the first time I decided not to go out, I lived with a bunch of my college roommates, and there was one guy that came over and he said, hey, are you coming out with us? And I said, no, man, I'm staying home tonight. And he's like, what's going on? And one of the other guys butted in and said, he's going to work on his stupid little marketing agency. And they were like, oh yeah, haha, good luck with that, right? Like, don't be dumb. Let's go out. And see, the thing is, people are going to do that because they're addicted to the character that you play when you're around them. And so they're going to try to keep you in that environment. And so I've learned it's best to try and keep those people away from you. All right. Everyone's got something to say. Everyone's going to hate. You need to have good people in your environment. And if you're trying to convince yourself that you are different from your friends, you need to get new friends. People always say, it's like an old adage, you are a construct of the people you're around. If you look at your friends and you're like, no, I'm not like them. These guys are bums. They like to sit around and drink, but that's not me. Odds are you are them, or you're going to adapt to them in some way, shape, or form. And I've experienced this myself in my life plenty of times. And what I like to say, and I learned this from Alex Ramosi, is that people live their lives in a way that I would not prefer. And so if anyone has anything to say about you or what you're doing, just tell yourself they live their lives in a way I would not prefer, because you need to do what you want to do, not what your friends tell you to do, what your parents tell you to do, what your teachers tell you to do. You need to do what you want to do, because that's how you're going to live a happy life. Now, there's a delineation or a fine line that you have to make between what you want to do and what's good for you. When you've done enough of what's good for you, you don't want to do the things that aren't good for you. Perfect example right now. I might want to go get ice cream. That would be I want to do what I want to do. I'm going to go get ice cream. I'm going to get drunk. Well, the thing is, I don't want to do that. And so I'm just not going to do it. But that takes time to gather the life together that you want to do. And obviously, the more hard things you do, the more you're going to want to do hard things. And that comes from doing the hard work when you don't feel like it. There's actually a part in your brain called the anterior mid-singular cortex that expands and shrinks based on how much willpower you have in certain situations. And so you need to be able to have that willpower to understand that I'm going to do what I want, and I'm not going to do the things that I know I shouldn't do. And so if you have that discrepancy, you can say, I want to do what I want. This will make your life better, because if you don't do what you want to do, you're going to live for other people and wake up one day resentful for who you turned out to be. The next thing is your beliefs. And actually your beliefs trump the environment and the people, because your environment and the people in your environment are a construct of your current beliefs. And so when you have an environment full of people who are not good for you, and you have an environment full of things that are not good for you, it's because there's some belief that you have that keeps you at that level. And so a perfect example from my life is that I used to say, I have to go out and party on the weekends. I have to go out and have a good time because it's the weekend and it's my day off. Well, that belief right there is what kept me limited. It's a limiting belief. And so I would operate to the extent of me having to go out on the weekends. So I'd work my ass off all week, and then as soon as the weekend hit, I'd be like, I can't work anymore. This is my day off. I have to go out. And this is a big problem I've seen for a lot of people who are trying to start a business or trying to start something new with their life. When it's time to sit down and start the business, they say, oh, well, I can't do it right now because I have work, and during the week I work, but I can do it on the weekend. But then when the weekend comes, it's, oh, well, these are my days off. I'll get started next weekend. And what ends up happening is you delay the hard decision instead of just doing it now. And so you have to look at your beliefs and say, why do I believe these things? And odds are it's because of your environment. It's because of the people around you. The number one variable to prove how successful you're going to be in life is not by age, it's not by gender, it's by your zip code. And that's because when you're around a certain group of people, you tend to lean towards their influence. And it's unity. It's a unity tactic or situation where you are going to be like the people around you. Now, the next thing you have to understand is that you're either going to have an easy life or strong character, and there is no in between. And so strong character comes from having the pain of the hard decision, or having the pain and the difficult situations and having strength to persevere through them. Just to give you a random example, let's say somebody in your life died, right? There are some people who will take that situation and they'll cry about it all day. They'll lay around in bed. They'll avoid the life that they're supposed to live. They will numb themselves. And then there's another group of people who will take that as motivation. They'll say, this is what that person wanted, and I'm going to get back to work, and I'm going to do the hard things that I have to do. Over a long period of time, the person who picked the easy route by sitting there and playing video games and numbing themselves will have a substantially more difficult life than the person who decided to sit down and do the work that's required. And it's because you'll never be happy finding pleasures. You'll find happiness in discipline. I have said this time and time again. I know for a fact, I'm not like a real scientist, but like bro science, I have had seasons where I have been fully involved in pleasure, and I've had seasons where I've been fully involved in business. And the best times I ever had in my entire life were when I was fully involved in business. I'd say one of the best times I had in the last couple of years was, I think, right around the beginning of 2024, from about January to about mid-March. I was grinding. I wasn't paying attention to anybody else. I was sitting there disciplined, waking up every morning, going to work, going to the gym, going to sleep. That was how I spent my days, and that's when I was the happiest. And so when you're making a decision, say it's between staying in school or starting a business, you have to find the one that is harder now. Usually if the decision's hard, the one that's harder to do is the one that you should probably pick. And so say you have to stay in school and go to class and everyone's telling you to stay in. Your mom's like, you got to go to school. Your dad, you have to go to school and get this job and do this thing. But on the other hand, you want to start this business and you're going to have to sit down, you're going to have to work hard. It's not going to be easy, and you have to make cold calls and you have to find a system and find a way to bring value to a market. That's very difficult. But guess what? That's more difficult in the short term. At least for me. Maybe it isn't for you, but for me, I know that's more difficult in the short term. Some people like the 9 to 5, and that's okay. But for myself, I know when I sat down and did the business that it was going to be substantially hard, but in the future I was going to be happier. But if I went to school, it was going to be hard too, but it was going to be more difficult in the future. Perfect example, right now it's 9 o'clock in the morning. I've been working for about 3 hours. I've been having a great time working, and then I came and sat down and filmed this YouTube video. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm talking to a camera on YouTube about my life and things that I can think of. And I'm also making money at the same time. If I decided right now that I wanted to go spend the rest of my day doing whatever I wanted to do, I could do that. Now I won't, because what I want to do is to sit down and work. But with the 9 to 5 job or going to college, the college route, I would have probably just now graduated this last semester. I'd be still working at the same restaurant I was working at 3.5 years ago, and I'd be trying to figure out where my life went or where I'm supposed to go from here. And since I didn't make the hard decision then, I would have all the anxiety and the avoidance now that I had back then about making hard decisions, and I'd probably stay stuck where I am. And that kind of brings me into the final point. If you don't take anything away from this video, if you don't go and say, okay, I'm in a rough position, do I need to change my beliefs? Do I need to change my environment? Do I need to change people in my life? Which I'm going to tell you honestly, it's probably all three of them. If you aren't doing something like that, you're going to stay exactly the same for the rest of your life. And that's the hard truth to get behind, is that you are who you are because of your environment, people, and beliefs. And if you cannot change those things, you're going to be exactly where you are years from now. And what that ends up doing is growing resentment towards those friends, regret towards your decisions, and an ultimately sadder life. And so I hope that helped you out. If this is something that has been bugging you, maybe you've had a rough time recently, you've been having hard decisions you need to make, you don't know what to do with your life, I'm hoping that this video was able to give you some clarity. If it did, go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. I make videos all the time about business, psychology, decision-making, self-improvement. That way I can help you become the best version of yourself and potentially help you run ads for your business. So hope you enjoyed. Have a wonderful day.